Welcome to the Classical Thinker, your source for independent news. I'm Jilletta Jarvis, and today we are going to be speaking on our candidate spotlight with Vicky Rose. Vicky Rose is running for representative in Mississippi's 37th district. Welcome, Vicky, and thank you for joining us today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
I am a mom. I am a business owner and an activist within my community. I participated in politics most heavily since about 2007, the Ron Paul campaign, the phrase, Ron Paul cured my apathy. And yeah, I could probably say that about myself. So I really got my feet wet in that, did a lot of door-to-door knocking. I saw the impact of being a grassroots supporter of a campaign and how much, I use the word impact, I'm going to say it again, how much impact it did have within my own little community of 8,000 people. So really encouraged me to be more involved. And as time went on, I decided, we moved to Mississippi about 10 years ago. And in this district, this gentleman here, I've had my eye on this race for about 3 or 4 years. I've never really been very happy with his voting record. And a lot of individuals in this community just don't really have a very good impression of him, I guess, in general. So I've been approached by people over the last few years, Vicky, why don't you run? Because they've seen me interact with the gentleman and with other politicians locally, at the local level, county level, and state level. And they just have to really, please run against Gary Chisholm. And so yes and no, and we're back and forth on it. And come January, I thought, okay, he's not going to be challenged. And everybody should be challenged. Every voter should have an opportunity to have more than one person on the ballot to pick somebody. And he has been unchallenged since 2007, and he's been in that seat since the year 2000. So if you're willing to run, you're willing to stick your name out there and put your name on the ballot, find someone who's been unchallenged and go for it.
Well, thank you, Vicky. That's it's interesting because that's the reason that a lot of people have been pushing for term limits in both local races and in federal. So the House passed a bill recently in Mississippi for a $2,000 across-the-board raise for teachers over the next 2 years, for a total of $4,000, while the Senate passed a bill proposing $500 a year raise. There's discussion that this could cause issues for a balanced budget within the state. Could you tell us a little bit about where you stand on that issue?
I would love to. The bill that came out of the Senate, my opponent is quoted in the newspaper as having said, well, it was just a starting point. We could give them more. If you were to look across the states, Mississippi pays the least to teachers across the entire country. We're literally number 50. Our teachers are not paid enough. They get a measly amount of a raise every election cycle, every 4 years, when people's jobs are on the line. And our base pay for a teacher coming in is around $24,000 a year in Mississippi.
Okay.
And the problem that we have in Mississippi is we have a whole lot of programs that can just go away. We could reduce the state budget by 10% and be able to pay our teachers a living wage.
Wow. Do you have examples of any of the programs that you feel could go away?
I would love to see us cut back on the alcohol beverage control program, for example. That we put a lot of money into that program because we have like 27 officers that oversee that also, and making sure that their rules and regulations are followed when it comes to liquor establishments selling alcohol. And it's a very, very restrictive organization. In order for an establishment to sell alcohol in our state, they have to get approval from the state, and it has to be off of the state approved list of alcohol, and the state tells them how much they can sell it for. And one business could sell one particular brand from the same manufacturer but a different brand, but then the state will come in and say, no, you can't sell that anymore, but I'm going to let the business next door to you sell that.
Oh, wow.
We have one business in my district. It's called Umi. It's a Japanese restaurant. They were selling a beer called sake. And the sake is an alcohol that was used in their recipe for cooking their rice. The state came in and said, you can't sell that anymore. We're not going to let you. And it's a key ingredient in one of the recipes.
Yeah.
So this is an organization that has way too much power and authority. And there are other, we have so many licensing boards that get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We can just start cutting across the board. And when we start doing that, we're also cutting back on the number of paid employees that have these positions, and those funds can go elsewhere.
Okay. And you're comfortable with cutting the amount of state employees?
Yes, and I don't have all of those numbers, and it's something, I'm at the very beginning of my race here. Admittedly, I've, looking at the surface level of things, and I'm working with my policy team on developing more numbers as, time goes on.
Excellent. Okay. You've stated that one of your principles for your race is people first. Could you tell us exactly what that means?
What we have currently in our political environment is you see it in the national news, and it trickles down because people pay attention to national more than they do to the local politics, because it's more dynamic. It's more fun to listen to the bickering on Fox News and CNN.
Oh, and they do.
What it is red versus blue.
Yep.
It's this division and dualism, and I'm better than you are. No, my policies. Well, they're all the same policies.
Yeah.
But the media doesn't tell you any different. And what that happens is you forget about the people. Forget about how the policies affect the individual, the unseen consequences. You have the seen results of the immediate impact of a piece of legislation that might be good, but there are many men and women who have these pens writing these laws. They have really, really great intentions, but they're not foreseeing the long-term implications with what they intend to do with legislation. And so the people get lost in the process. Their right to be able to create, for self-empowerment, for innovation. I love what Kansas just did. They just wrote a bill. I don't remember if the governor signed it or not, but a bill passed one of their branches abolishing the barber board, not requiring licensing to be a barber.
That's excellent. Here in New Hampshire, it wasn't until 2015 maybe that actually the Libertarian Party helped to promote removal of the license requirement for hair braiding. We actually had a separate professional license requirement to braid hair. And when you sit down and look at the licenses required to run which businesses in each state, they're varied. They're just completely across the board. And the requirements here in New Hampshire, when you want to be an acupuncturist, you must be of sound moral judgment. Well, who makes that decision? Right. Those are the kinds of things that, but for example, your your accountant does not need to be of sound moral judgment. That's not a requirement for an accountant, because
No,
they
don't
just
need
pay your
integrity,
taxes.
Yeah.
No, so I can completely see how that is amazing that Kansas finally got rid of a barber board.
And you can bet that I have so many people in my district. You get rid of the licensing requirements for barbers and cosmetologists. There are so many individuals in my district who would be positively impacted by that, because licensing requirements, what do? They do not promote competition. It restricts competition. And even in 2016, my opponent voted yes to requiring auctioneers to be licensed. I mean, how long has the auction
Wow.
business been in existence? And in 2016, the governor signed a bill requiring auctioneers to have a license.
Because what they do is very dangerous to the public.
Yes,
You know,
they're gonna hurt us.
the gavel could hurt people if they're sitting too close and the gavel flies out of the auctioneer's hand. That's
It could fly
definitely
into one of the paintings behind them and break it.
it could. I mean, there could be chaos. There could be chaos. Originally, licensing was for professionals was supposed to be there in order to ensure safety standards were met. These were licenses were created to ensure public safety for things like surgeons who are cutting into a person, or police officers who have a gun and could shoot people. Those kinds of industries that just their very nature endangered another person. And we've expanded that in so many states to encompass things that I just can't understand how these could possibly be a public danger. I don't understand how an auctioneer is a public danger. I don't understand how your accountant could possibly injure you in some way except for monetarily. But you know, going shopping when you're a shopping addict could endanger you. So why aren't we making sure that retail cashiers are licensed so that they know how to understand if someone may be a shopping addict when they show up at the register? I mean,
Or a sugar addict, because it
sugar
causes
addicts.
so many health problems, and it's such a burden on our healthcare system with the addiction that we have to sugar.
You know, there are many states, speaking of which, there are many states which are banning sales of sugary drinks in public restaurants. How do you feel about this? Do you feel that we should be protecting the people against things like diabetes, and the children of parents who are apathetic to what they may be ingesting when they go out to eat? Or do you feel that a parent should allow a child to have that sugary drink while they are out at a restaurant? Maybe this is the only time that they go to a restaurant. They're making that choice. Do you feel that the parent should be making the choice, or do you think that we should protect them and make the choice for them?
It should always come down to individual responsibility. There is a candidate here in Mississippi running for lieutenant governor, and his tagline is, "It all starts with education." And it is so true. It's an individual's responsibility to be self-educated. And if the community is concerned about it, we even in my own little community here, occasionally we have some people who will put up free seminars for people to come out and learn about these health things. And it's not even the health department doing it. These are churches and private organizations. They're helping to educate individuals to make better life choices for themselves. But you can't force someone to drink. If they want to come out to these, if they want to learn, but eventually it has a ripple effect throughout the community, because I can be in communication with individuals, like for example with CBD oil and its benefits. That's something that not a whole lot of people really using. But now, as more and more people are having a positive impact on their personal health with the variety of options that are out there with that product, more and more people are starting to use it. And using a natural based product feeds from one natural based product to another, to another. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But once people start feeling better within their bodies because they're taking care of themselves, what else can I do for myself? It's just a natural progression of things.
Yeah.
And as government, we need to stay out of that. Lawmakers, yeah, I feel really good about the idea about protecting these little children whose parents are, hey, it's none of my business. I'm here to make sure that the roads are safe and that they're being, taken care of to protect you from enemies, foreign and domestic, and make sure the bills are being paid.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of what you'd be there for and the people that you'd be serving, I was looking at the map of the 37th district. It's crazy. I'm going to try to put a picture up of it on this. I'm not sure that I can, but I'm going to try. So I may be replaced with a map here soon. But so there seems to be an issue with how your districts are drawn. We'll just put it that simply. It looks like there's two different
It's crazy.
I can't even describe what these shapes look like, kind of put together, and they're barely attached. There's one house that connects the two parts of the district.
It's right. I'm sitting in a coffee shop right now, and it's about a mile north of me, and it's the highway, and it just connects, from one side of the county to the other. So that portion is all one county that you're talking about, the thin strip, and then it comes south. The same county does, and then that county connects with the other, and it goes off in a leg, and it covers a whole. But then on the bottom left side, now that's in Oconomowoc County, and that county used to get about 1,700 votes, but now it gets like 500.
So we lost votes.
No, they just transferred them to someplace else in the district. They just moved. So in 2010, they redrew the lines. And Mississippi, I think, is one of, 13. I don't remember how many states there are. But when redistricting happens, our state is required to submit it to upper courts to get it validated and verified and saying, yes, these district lines are fair. And in 2000, this one actually didn't get certified until 2013 because there was so much uproar over it, and you can see why. In fact, there's one Senate district down in the Jackson area. It's 105 miles tall, and the federal courts just ruled that they have to redistrict ASAP. In February they did, and it's discriminatory, blatantly discriminatory. My district has 12 points, according to Statistical Atlas, has 12.7% more white people in it than the state average, as far as you consider percentages of white to black. But then again, the 36th district, which is borders right north of me, that one has so state average, we're almost 50-50 when it comes black and white ratio, almost a little. I don't remember exactly what it is. But there's almost a 70% black population in the 36th district.
So did you notice, and I don't know if you looked into this or not, but did you notice that there was a change in the way the 37th district voted from pre-redistricting to what it looks like now? I mean, did a party emerge victorious in this?
The Republican Party, and my candidate specifically. The district is drawn in such a way that where he lives, receives the bulk, as far as the precincts go, receives the bulk of votes compared to any other geographical area within this district. He's been there since the year 2000, and he had an opponent in 2003 and in 2007. 2000 was a special election. So we redistricted in 2001.
Okay.
I'm sorry, in 2011 we redistricted. So 2007, 2011, he had a primary challenger that dropped out, but there was no Democrat. Democrats will not run someone in this race. I stood up in front of my board of supervisors last Monday. I gave them 3 reasons I'm running. The people first. The second reason is when I win, and if I should decide to run again in 4 years, I want there to be a Green Party candidate. I want there to be a Democrat. I want there to be a Republican and a Libertarian and 5 or 6 independents, because I want people to feel like they can jump in this race because they will be equally represented. I want there to be competition. And the third reason I'm running is we have enough money in the state. Our problems are priority. I have to prioritize my budget in my household month to month to month, year to year. And okay, what am I going to cut out of my budget this year? What are we going to put our money to this month? And what are we not going to spend money on? The state has to do that too.
Yeah, we as people seem to realize that we need to budget our expenses. Why should the government be any different? Why should they not have to budget? You don't just say, well, let's just tax people more. We'll force them to pay, and that way we'll have the money we need. It's not really going to work for very long unless you really want your people living in poverty. So
and you're not putting people first then, are you?
No, you're not putting people first. You're putting your politics and your own wallet first. That's the people you're putting first, the government employees that are pocketing the money. So would you be opposed to an independent organization reworking the districts?
Oh, no, I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm not opposed to that at all. I need to do more investigation. I do know that there are those organizations out there, and there are about, a handful of ways when it comes to redistricting. But what we have right now, it's not working for the people of the state.
No, it doesn't seem like it would. I mean, anybody, if anybody looks at these maps, there are a lot of crazy schemes that politicians have used to make sure that certain districts vote in certain ways, and it's all about how they shape those districts by putting in a primary amount of voters from voter pools, because you can look and see how people have voted in the past.
Well, you were asking that question, and it's been quite so in the years where he had an opponent, you can track it, and you can see that there were more Democrats voting against. There were more people voting for the Democrat one year to the next, and then bam, he's not challenged anymore. Oh, he gets off easy.
That's crazy. So obviously you're running against incumbent Representative Gary Chisholm.
Yeah.
What would you bring to the State House of Mississippi that Gary just hasn't brought?
I would bring ideas. When I see the bills that he writes and that he proposes, a lot of the time they have to do with housing and insurance, and I'm just, how does that help the people of our district? He's an insurance agent. Let me just put it at that. That's his personal job.
Oh, I see. I see. So he's writing bills that supplement the way he wants to do business.
Basically.
Oh. Yeah, I've seen many politicians who, again, it's voting for themselves. It's you're writing bills to benefit yourself. That's a conflict of interest.
I also, when I say bring ideas, he's so the big issues in our state, like I said, right now, two top issues with the voters are roads and education. And we're last in everything. He's not offering any solutions to help bring us out of last place. He's not offering any solutions to pot. He's voting continuously on the for tourism taxes to be allowed in these every opportunity he can get. Continental Tire is a I'm going to be different. I'm going to bring an argument for change for the people, ideas. Our charter school bill is horrendous. How we operate under charter schools. I would love to see corporations get involved in the charter schools. Open it up so that corporations can fund the charter schools. Yet, so they're under the public policy umbrella. Currently, our charter school system is funded in a way that the public schools have to take from their finance.
So I'm sorry, just to make sure I heard, because your bandwidth over there in the cafe is a little low, and we just lost some of our bandwidth with you, that
Okay.
You were just stating that right now charter schools in Mississippi are funded in such a way that funds are taken away from public schools and given to charter schools, and you'd like to see them funded differently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How would you propose that? A separate
I would
fund
like to
completely?
see the state. I would propose a separate fund completely, but not fully funded by the state. I would like to see businesses invest in these charter schools, an opportunity for the communities to get involved. So it's not entirely a private school. It's still a public entity, but for businesses to become involved in the lives of their communities.
That's excellent. Okay. And how is your public school system currently funded? Is it funded through straight through taxes, or is it funded through any other programs?
Currently, we're funded through the property taxes. The county and the city and the state also gives money to it, and then we get the money from the federal government, and then sometimes there's federal programs that they'll try to, different districts will try to latch onto and try to get some money from. We have 82 we have one of the movements we have going on right now across the state with regard to education is we have 82 counties in the state, but we have over 113 school districts, 113 school districts. A lot of people are saying, let's one district per county. I don't know that that's possible though, because when you get into some of the larger populated areas like Jackson, Mississippi, I don't know that one district can necessarily cover all of that population.
Okay. Well, Vicky, we're running out of time in our meeting, so is there anything that you would really like to tell voters about you so that they know before they go to the polls this year?
I grew up, my parents both worked for the federal government, General Services Administration. My dad, in fact, he's a manager and he's responsible for money. Many times he would find ways to cut money, to save the taxpayers' money, because he knew that his job impacted taxpayers in the end. And anytime he was told to do that, his hand was slapped and he was told, don't worry about that. I come from a family of soldiers, Army and Navy, and I'm very dedicated not only to my country, but to my state and to my community, no matter where my feet are planted. And I want people to succeed, and I want government to be transparent, and I want people to be held accountable for the money that they take from the people every day. I say take, because that's what they're doing. We're taking your money and we're putting it where we best see fit as lawmakers. And there needs to be more accountability. We have voices in Jackson, Mississippi already seeking for that accountability, and they need my help.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Vicky. Vicky, again, is running for State House Representative in the District 37 of the great state of Mississippi, which I love to spell because it always, when we were in elementary school, they teach you the little sing song about it, and it still goes through my head every time I spell it, so I know I spell it right. So, so thank you so much. My name again is Jilletta Jarvis with The Classical Thinker, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.